What's up? Welcome back to another market recap. Today is September 16th, 2025. So let's get into it. I had no trades last night. I had this pound CAD was the main trade I was waiting for most of the evening, and we'll get to it in a second. The first trade I did notice that kind of presented an entry, though, if we go back in time here just a smidge, get our pivots back, was this Euro CAD. And I entertained taking it. And when I went to position size it with my broker, they were going to charge me 25%, essentially like 25% of what I was risking, I would have had to have paid in a commission to open and close the trade. So turning my risk from like 3% to 3.5, if not a little higher or something like that. Like 3.75 maybe. I don't know. But either way, it was an astronomical kind of commission charge due to trading a CAD pair, which ups the lot numbers that I need to pretty much buy for the position. That just made it astronomical. So it was a 10 pip position. I liked the trade. But I stayed out just purely due to the commissions. In hindsight, the trade would have played out, would have paid for the commission. So don't know if it's a super valid reason, but I think of it more so on the side of if the trade ends up losing, then it throws off my edge. So, but it was a wave two kind of pullback play. So you had this pullback here, this breakdown. It held the 4-hour 50 pretty nicely, ended up creating a double bottom. You can kind of see here on your 10-minute. And if I swap time zones to my 1-hour setup, so you can see this 2-minute chart, right? It was right here. So price had broken down. It held that 4-hour 50 pretty nicely. It created a double bottom. Price is holding this trend very well as the EMA, and you had a nice clean break above it. So just kind of a 10 pip position. So a break of that, break 10 pip stop below lows with a 2-to-1. So that 2-to-1 was positioned prior to the pivot and 0.382 and 1-hour 50, right? So that's why it had to be a little bit of a tighter position. But really nice trade, played out perfectly. Very little management wouldn't have needed to be done with this trade if I was able to enter it. So, and yeah, I'm kind of torn. Like after watching this trade, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to pay more commissions if I want to try and trade something like this. But if the trade plays out, it is what it is, and it just becomes a tax write-off at the end of the day. Even if the trade ends up being a loss, it still just becomes a tax write-off at the end of the day. So I probably shouldn't let large commissions like that affect my decision-making when it comes to placing the position or not. But I don't know. It's something I'm still kind of dwelling on, thinking through, figuring out how I want to approach this kind of stuff in the future. So, but the setup was super clean. I liked it a lot. This was the first thing I saw. It was like, watch this trade essentially play out as pound CAD was starting to pull back. And then as pound CAD starting to pull back, I was primarily watching this kind of trend right here. Stayed up a good while until nearly 4 a.m. or so my time. I'm watching this trade, and it's just holding this trend all the way up. But I eventually started to get kind of sketched out of the position because CAD Swiss at the same time had completely broken down. So it wasn't really holding any of the levels anymore. And so CAD Swiss really became a no trade, and really just looked like a pullback to the 4-hour 50 and a continuation, right? So as I'm sitting here looking at this pound CAD, I'm thinking of correlation. I'm like, okay, well, this is a very similar price action. So it has to me, there was a high likelihood that this trade was just going to continue going up. And if I took the trade, it likely would take me out. So, yeah, so I decided to stay out of it. It finally did give a breakdown. At this point, when it gave the breakdown, I was asleep because I went to bed at like 4. So price kind of continued holding this trend. Finally gave the break. If I was to enter it, that's where the entry would have occurred. And the other problem I was having with it is I wasn't really able to get the kind of stop protection I wanted above this level right here. Like these, I'm looking more so at this kind of like a head and shoulders type pattern. And I would really like to get my stop above this a good bit, because what I saw happening was price breaking down, probably giving a little bit of a pullback and then pushing, like exactly what happened here, and retesting that level. And if it was to do something like that, it's likely going to take me out of the trade anyways, because I can't get a stop that's above the level and that has like a buffer to it. So with the current position size that I had here, as I was watching this, in this area, when it would break down, essentially I was looking at an entry around this level with the position size like this, because I, again, wanted my target to be before the 4-hour 50. But either way, I gave an entry. If you took this entry, if I stayed up another hour, I likely would have taken that entry on the break, if not taking it on a 30-second break. But I liked the 2-minute more, and you could wait for the 2-minute, it'd be fine. And then price would have broke the 10-minute 50, and I would have just clipped this high on this retest of the 10-minute 50. Let's retest of the 10-minute 50 here, and then the follow through, I would have clipped that high, essentially, removing most of the risk from the position, if not locking in 0.2 or so R. And then would have been taken out for essentially a break even on this trade if I would have stayed up and taken it with my management style. Now, if you just enter a trade and do zero management and was able to position size it just like this, there's a possibility you'd still be in this trade, making some profit right now. So, but for whatever reason, like towards the end of the last hour of the day, it really decided to break down finally. Or start to break down. But, the other thing I forgot about is it was 4 something in the morning when I decided to just not take this trade and go to bed. And I was also looking at news announcements coming up. I don't like trading through high impact news. And at that point, it was 2.5 hours or so until CAD CPI came out, which is high impact news. So I was fine with the CAD news when I made my watch list, given I kind of anticipated being able to get in this trade in the next few hours, not at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So, which is right next to that kind of news announcement, which creates a lot of volatility and a lot of whipsawing that I typically just don't try and trade through. So it became another factor at that point as to why I chose to stay out of the trade. So yeah, CAD Swiss didn't really play out. Euro CAD had a nice pullback play, but the kind of wave 3 play, it didn't play out either. Dollar CAD never really pulled back, just kind of continued here. It looks like it might have an opportunity to possibly play a kind of bounce from this level on your 4-hour time frame, but we'll look at it in the watch list. Aussie CAD, I pulled back now. We'll look at it again in the watch list. Kiwi CAD, nothing. And the other thing was this pound Aussie. It played out. So when that Euro CAD trade started pulling back, both of also these pound Aussie and Euro Aussie trades started playing out. So if I would have been more comfortable with this trade, we identified it yesterday talked about it yesterday. If it entered it right at the time of the watch list, this trade would have played out for a full 2 hour probably. So, and then the only other thing I was watching is these yens started to break down a little bit, and primarily this Aussie yen became pretty nice. I had this nice breakdown later in the evening, like 2 o'clock in the morning my time. So I saw it. I set an alert before I went to bed for this kind of retest. And my plan was, since I decided not to take that pound CAD, that if it pulled back and triggered my alert, then I would probably take this trade because the price action was pretty clean. I didn't really have any issues with it. So depending on what the deceleration looked like at that level, I would have been good. And it gave plenty deceleration. It looked nice, right? Like kind of held this trend here, a nice clean break of that trend, easy entry, take the trade. For an 18 pip kind of position, if not a little tighter. And it did trigger this alert, but for whatever reason, I never heard it. Usually I have my volume on max on my phone, on the computer, and my alerts will always wake me up. But I don't know if it's still like some of this sickness I've been dealing with last week affecting my sleep or what, or given the fact I kind of kept myself up so late until 4:30 in the morning or so. And this alert would have triggered about 2 hours after I went to bed, but I never heard it, unfortunately, because this is also a really nice trade. So essentially like 3 trades from the watch list: pound Aussie, Aussie yen, and then this Euro CAD were some nice opportunities last night. So cool. I'm going to go build my watch list for the upcoming session, and I will catch you guys here in a minute. All right, and we're back. So I'll try and get through this rather quickly here. I have a few different groups. I don't have really anything at the moment I absolutely love, but I do have a couple options that I'll watch and see how these things develop. Out of this yen group, this pound yen is one of the pairs I'm probably more interested in. You have a break of this trend, so a lower low on your 1 hour as well as your 4 hour, 10 minute obviously, be an IBO on your 1 hour. If it pulls back, it'd be an ACB on your 10 minute. But the problem is it would be bouncing off of your 4 hour 50 right here. So you would have to essentially get some pretty decent deceleration at the 0.382 pivot, 1 hour 50 area, and get a nice kind of micro time frame reversal for me to take this trade, because you'll have to trade through the 4 hour 50. So it's not ideal in that sense. Daily time frame, you have a nice kind of bearish candle, so it looks okay. You're at relative high, like all-time highs ish. I mean, this is the technically all-time high, but I mean you're at highs that have been respected for over the past year. So pretty good. It's just the 4 hours kind of sketch on this. But you do have this kind of horizontal level here that's been respected pretty well in the past, right? So respected here. Let's just blow this up, make it a little easier. It's been respected so 1, 2, 3, 4 different times recently in the past. So yeah, I think it's an option, but needs some decent deceleration to consider it. Euro yen, this is not really any strategy per se, but there's this level that's pretty nice here on your daily time frame. I mean, we're relatively at all-time highs. We've looked at this level before. I think I may have even traded off this level in the past, but you had this respect here on your daily time frame, and it's almost giving you double top type of vibes. And we may even have we have MACD divergence on your daily time frame. So it's starting to appear like it's shaping up to be a daily reversal, which would then turn into like a daily IBO and so on. So I'm watching this to see how price kind of reacts to this, see if we get some like a nice micro time frame kind of price action that maybe I could play with the strategy that I'm starting to trade my MBO. So yeah, just an interesting level, something to keep an eye on. Singapore yen, probably not gonna trade this. And then Aussie yen, probably won't trade this either, but I wanted to flag it and see what happens. If I thought about this in a sense of like a second shot at an IBO, it still fits within wave theory, right? So like wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, you'd be playing wave 5. Just typically wave 5 for me lines up with a complete breakout and that wave 4 pullback retesting the 1 hour 50, 4 hour 50. But this is more so like a second shot at the original IBO. I don't really take trades like this, but I kind of wanted to watch it and see what happens. So that's why I flagged it. Euro Aussie. It's in a pullback on a daily time frame. It's basically turning into like an IBO short on your daily, but it still has room to move to the daily 50. It would be a CBO on your 1 hour, be an IBO on your 4 hour, and it'll likely be an ACB on your 10 minute. It's just the price action looks a little funky, but I think it's an option. It's one of the nicer options for this upcoming session. And then Aussie Swiss, similar to Euro Aussie, this will be a 1 hour CBO, 4 hour IBO, but it is already bouncing off of your daily 50. Is what I don't love about it. So for you to get to the 2-to-1 target, you essentially have to trade through the daily 50 and the 4 hour 200. So it's not ideal, right? And this has had a pretty good break, so it needs a decent sized pullback here. But again, it's an option. Euro Aussie, Aussie Swiss, I think are two of the nicer price action pairs I have of everything flagged. So these would probably be the main two things I'm looking at. See how they kind of react to the areas of value. And then Aussie CAD, I flagged this just because, I mean, you broke, kind of have a pullback, but you'd have to enter it now. But the 4 hour time frame kind of just looks like a pullback and then a continuation probably to retest the highs. So I'm not really feeling it. So I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. Euro pound. I flagged this just to see if it pushes more so to these kind of 4 hour, 1 hour highs and see what how it reacts to that level. It'll kind of line up with your daily R1 and see if we get some reversal kind of patterns on your micro time frame. So again, potentially traded MBO. And then dollar CAD, similar kind of thing. You have this 1 hour level here, as well as you can kind of see it on your daily, like support, resistance, resistance, support, support. So it's a pretty decent horizontal level, as well as it's been nicely respected here on your 1 hour time frame. So I set an alert, waiting to see if price pushes to it and see what kind of happens here. But I'll be looking to potentially take an MBO style play off that level. And then dollar yen, same kind of concept. You have a decent kind of support level, waiting to see what happens if price pulls back to it and potentially take an MBO. So I have a lot of like kind of potential trades, and there's a lot of stuff that's sitting at levels that's interesting to maybe give some plays. But the only kind of main two that really fit somewhat of strategies are this Euro Aussie, Aussie Swiss, and potentially this pound yen. And then I have, I'm not going to really go through them all, but I have a large dollar group right here. And if you just like kind of quick theme of them, they're all starting to, they've all been running, right? But more so I flag these because I'm pretty sure that the Fed funds rate comes out tomorrow. So that's likely going to drive dollar pairs. So I put these all kind of on development watch and see what happens after that kind of news announcement come early New York. And then still watching these other pairs I've had on watch, these yens, and then this Euro CAD, pound CAD. I put these back to kind of a development watch. I'm still watching this pound CAD because it's still sitting at a pretty nice daily level. See what happens here. I think the IBO at this point is kind of gone for me, but if we get a full breakdown and potentially the CBO, it would still be really nice to trade on this pound CAD. And this Euro CAD, it failed and essentially broke completely up. But again, a full down breakdown and potential CBO, I would entertain if we get a breakdown at some point in the next few days. Either way, that's all I got, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. See you.